Today we will be talking about cellular respiration. I am Magali and my group members are Maricela, Bria, and Elizabeth.
Cellular respiration equation is glucose made in photosynthesis by plants or consumed by animals using glycolysis, plus with oxygen from the atmosphere used in electron transport chain, which turns into carbon dioxide waste product of the citric acid cycle, plus with the water released from the electron transport chain, plus with energy, which is ATP released from glycolysis, citric acid cycle, and electron transport chain. Between 34 to 36 ATP can be made with this process. This ATP can be used by cells for cellular metabolism.
How efficient is cellular respiration? About 40% efficient, and 60% of energy going to heat. This is a good thing because it keeps our bodies warm. In cellular respiration, there are 4 phases: glycolysis, conversion, Krebs cycle, also known as the citric cycle, and the electron transport chain. All these phases together use oxygen and glucose to make ATP, which is energy for the body. To kickstart the activation of glycolysis, ATP is required. The starting molecules of glycolysis are 6 carbon molecules of glucose, which are broken down into 2 pyruvic acid molecules and 2 ATP molecules. The intermediate molecules of glycolysis, like starch and glycogen, can be converted into glucose storage molecules for later use, instead of continuing through the glycolysis pathway. In glycolysis, there are a total number of 4 ATP and a net number of 2 ATP. The process of glycolysis takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell outside of the mitochondria and yields small amounts of ATP and 2-pyruvate. The advantages of glycolysis is that it's anaerobic and the process is so fast that a lot of ATP can be produced in a short amount of time. Disadvantages are that it yields small amounts of energy and can quickly fill all available NAD molecules with electrons, making the process stop.
The conversion of pyruvate to acetylcholine begins with 2 pyruvates. Pyruvate is made from glycolysis. The end product is acetylcoenzyme A. This process, the conversion of pyruvate to acetylcoenzyme A, is actually called pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. It consists of 9.5 million daltons in size. It also consists of 5 essential coenzymes in the process of conversion of pyruvate to acetyl-CoA, which are TPP, NAD+, FAD+, coenzyme A, lipoic acid. The conversion of pyruvate to acetyl-CoA enzyme A occurs in the mitochondrial matrix. It's actually transported into the mitochondrial matrix by a protein transporter. The conversion of pyruvate to acetylcoenzyme A does require oxygen. Oxygen is required for conversion, which starts with the E1 reaction, which is actually the pyruvate dehydrogenase.
The Krebs cycle, or also called the citric acid cycle, starts with pyruvic acid that comes from glycolysis, and the end product is oxaloacetate, and it takes place in the mitochondria and does require oxygen.
The final step in cellular respiration is the electron transport chain. The purpose of the electron transport chain is that it uses high energy electrons from glycolysis and the Krebs cycle to convert ADP into ATP. The electron transport chain takes place in the inner mitochondrial membrane, and oxygen is required for the process. Some of the protein carriers are cytochrome molecules. Electrons that enter the electron transport chain are carried by NADH and FADH2. In the electron transport chain, Electrons move throughout the chain, reducing and oxidizing the molecules as they pass. Reduced electron carriers like NADH and FADH2 transfer their electrons to molecules near the beginning of the transport chain. As electrons are passed down the chain, they move from a higher to a lower energy level, releasing energy. Some of this energy is used to pump H-positive ions. At the end of the electron transport chain, electrons are transferred to molecular oxygen, which splits in half and takes H-positive ions to form water and 32 ATP. Advantages to the electron transport chain are that most ATP is created here, also that the energy yield is large. A disadvantage is that it requires oxygen.
The summary of cellular respiration is the process of glycolysis. The starting product is glucose, and the end product is 2 ATPs, 2 NADHs, and 2 pyruvate molecules. The gross ATP is 4, and the net ATP is 2. And then also the process of the conversion of pyruvate. The starting product is 2 pyruvate, and the end product is acetyl coenzyme A. No ATP is created during the conversion.
In the next step of cellular respiration, Krebs cycle starting product is acetyl coenzyme A. End product is oxaloacetate. It contains 2 ATPs. Electron transport chain. The starting product is NADH, FADH2, and O2. The end product would be NAD plus, H2O, 32 ATPs, and a gross ATP of 32.
The gross amount of ATP created from cellular respiration are 4 ATP from glycolysis, 2 ATP from the citric cycle, and 32 ATP from the electron transport chain, creating a total of 38 gross ATP. The net amount of ATP created from cellular respiration are 2 ATP from glycolysis, 2 ATP from the citric cycle, and 32 ATP from the electron transport chain, creating a total of 36 net ATP.